Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time. It's not mine. Now, the Mercedes-Benz C-Class has been a part of South Africa's history for probably longer than most of us were in this industry, just about, or before we were born. Okay, for me, I was in like Standard 2 when the C-Class came out. In fact, I think I was in Standard 4 when it started being built in South Africa. That's pretty incredible. That's how much history this car has. It sort of taught the industry what a premium sedan should be like. It is one of the Eastern Cape's most luxurious exports. And in fact, a fun fact is that it has built more than 1 million units and exported to over 80 countries worldwide. And the previous gen, which was sort of 2014, was probably like the main boy tree of them all, having sold over 2.5 million models. So I think we can say that it is quite a successful model for Mercedes-Benz. In fact, their best-selling model. That's fair. Okay. Now, just a little side note, I've had COVID, guys. Who's had COVID for a while? Oh, there's a lekker brick that's fallen here. Literally COVID for the last week. So please excuse the lurg and what I sound like, but I've tried my best, okay? What fascinated me about the C-Class is that when that previous generation sold so well, the world was already SUV mad. So it just goes to show what sort of legacy and iconic status the C-Class has, certainly in the South African market as well. Now, I'm in the latest generation C-Class. It did launch a couple of years ago. I have done a video, you'll see it on my channel, but I wanted to revisit it again. And I'm so glad I have, because I think I've matured. No, that's not true. I'm still very childish. But maybe I've matured with the C-Class. The other reason is, okay, let's get the price out of the way. That was probably one of the most contentious issues when the C-Class, when this generation launched. Since then, I would say that every price of just about every car, barring maybe some of the Chinese models, has been contentious. It's been an issue. We all like, oh my goodness, these cars are so expensive. And it's true. What Mercedes-Benz did, however, was back then in sort of 2022 or whatever, was like, here, we're going to price it at this. And everyone goes, oh, gasp, shock, horror. Now we're like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense now. Like when you say that a C-Class is R1 million, I don't think people are as shocked as they were back then. That's a good thing. Again, we've all matured. Or which is terrible, it's just been normalized that cars are so expensive. So the entry into the C-Class model range kicks off at just over 1 million. I'm in the C200 AMG line, which comes in at just under 1.1 million. And of course it goes up to a little bit more expensive ones. But something to remember about the C-Class is that it is so loaded with tech that it's a mini S-Class, especially on the interior. This car looks good from the exterior. And remember, when this generation launched, it was sort of quite a revolution from the previous gen. Not so much, most cars sort of evolve. This was like, whoop, here's something new. And especially when you came inside, and especially with the tech. And one of the biggest, was this touchscreen. My goodness, this screen was the one thing that I really disliked. I was sort of like, this is crazy. Why do we need such a big screen? This is bizarre. And then now, again, something like the price, it's been quite normalized. Because if you look at a lot of the Chinese brands, they're coming in with screens that are like 12.3 inches. And this is 11.9. I look at it now and I'm like, not actually that big. Why was I so taken aback by it? And I kind of love the positioning of it. So again, I think what's happened is the cars have evolved so much so, and I want to say that this was maybe a little bit of ahead of its time. Maybe that's why it was so jarring. But how this is all now worked out sits exactly where I wanted to sit in terms of not just positioning, but even the way it's used. Now, you'll all know that I'm not a fan of a touchscreen, and I still am not. I think that this is probably one of the best on the market. It's certainly one of the better. on the markets. It's very intuitive, it's very user-friendly, and because the updates are over the air, this has been updated since the last time I used it, and I can tell where things have gotten easier and things have gotten better. The other thing that I do very much appreciate is the fact that although the climate control is within the screen, it's got its own banner. It's almost like it's in a screen, but it's there continuously. It's always there. It's a standard bar of climate control. And so you can always press it. The only thing is maybe when you click onto the climate menu, which is only if you're going to really be changing the direction of the airflow, then unfortunately what I don't like is that I have to then press back to get off of that screen. But what it does have is a big home button here in the middle, that if I'm in Android Auto, again, this is a big thing for me, I can click into home and it can take me to whether I want to go to settings or media or apps or anything like that. Okay, I like that. And then I can just click back easily into Android Auto. Okay, I always appreciate that. So there's a lot of things that have been well thought out here with this system, which has the second generation MBUX interface going on. You got the Hey Mercedes jaw, which you can just turn on. I've turned it off for the very fact that because I'm talking to you guys all the time and I like sometimes practice before, just so you know, I don't look like a total idiot. It kept talking back to me because I kept thinking that I was speaking to it. So I've turned it off for now, just so that it knows it needs to go to sleep for a bit, and I'll turn her back on later, because then you can use everything via the Hey Mercedes vibes. It's obviously fully spec'd at the price that it is. There are many, many options as well. But being a mini S-Class, it is quite great to see that sort of tech like trickle down. But it's even got all the things like your ambient lighting that sort of for me is synonymous with Mercedes-Benz. Whenever I think of a Mercedes-Benz or I think of ambient lighting, I think of Merc, because you get in and you can have all these colors and it always looks quite pretty. The interior of this car is really comfortable and very spacious, especially in the back. I mean, it is a sedan after all, which we've kind of forgotten how good they are because we're so SUV mad. One of the other features it has is a fingerprint scanner over here, which is quite cool. So you put your finger on it, and then it changes the profile to match that fingerprint. And then what that does is sort of put your recent destinations, all the sort of apps and everything that you've got on here. It remembers your seat position, your steering position, all of that. So it's like a user profile, but use your fingerprint. That like makes it a little bit more CSI for me, which I quite enjoy. When I was speaking about buttons earlier, the steering wheel, which is very comfortable, I like a big, thick steering wheel. It's hard to say that with a straight face. It's got everything on here. You can do everything from your steering wheel. I think what some people have complained about is the fact that the buttons, you can press the volume button up, but it's a slidey one. It doesn't bother me because a lot of the steering wheels have that sort of thing. But otherwise, very easy to use. I love that it's got separate. So on this side, it operates the infotainment screen. And on this side, it does the digital instrument cluster here. I love that because I can always, sometimes they always interconnected. And then I'm always pressing this, but that's going off and I've pressed this and then the radios come on and whatever. So I love that that's separated. Again, user friendliness. I do also love the air vents because no matter what, you can find a way to put air where you want it to flow. So few cars have that. I want it on my face. I also want it under my armpits and potentially under my bosoms. Okay? And sometimes I find that I can't get it to all those places. I've got so many here I can. It's like a jet. Fabulous. Fabulous. Also, I'm on my way to Paarl, where it's about to be 37 degrees. And so I think I will be very grateful for all the air that will be blowing at me in this Merc. Also has all this... Okay, someone raved next to me and gave me a fright. All the safety tech. This is like... Not like... I've got to try stop saying like. I realize I've got a few people commenting on my YouTube videos. I get it. I'm trying not to say like, and I'm trying not to say Okay? I think the reason that I do it is because I'm trying to think of my script, and so it buys me time, which is not professional, I realize. But do you know what? I don't have anyone in here who can tell me when I'm saying something incorrect. Look at me blaming others. Not taking accountability. Story of my life, really. There's loads of safety tech on board, of course. There's got blind spot monitoring, the lane keep assist, which isn't intrusive, which is something that I always appreciate with any safety feature on any car. So that's great. So the C200 AMG line, this is powered by the 1.5 litre turbo petrol engine with an EQ boost because it's mild hybrid. So it gives you a combined output of 165 kilowatts and 300 newton meters of torque. I find that to be enough power. Many people feel like that's maybe a bit underpowered, and so they'd want to go for the diesel models or whatever. I just think that this is perfect. I don't know why you need much more. There is almost zero turbo lag. The performance is smooth. The power is sent to the rear wheels via a 9-speed automatic gearbox, which shifts very seamlessly, very smoothly. I think the combination of this engine and this gearbox is really beautiful. And in fact, I find it very hard to fault this sort of engine here because it is so refined. My favorite thing about everything, which everyone will probably think is ridiculous, but I'm going to claim it anyways, is the fact that it's still got the auto stop-start button right here, so I can turn it off. It's not in a screen. I can access it. It's off. Great. Love it. As I said, there's no significant turbo lag. This is like now going on the predecessor as well. Like the handling is sharper, the steering is sort of snappier. Just overall, the C-Class has gotten better and better, and the drive, it's still such a luxury cruiser. If you want to pop it into sport mode, you can. I don't see the point of this. I put it into what I think suits the character of this model, which again is the C200 AMG line, which is to be in sort of eco or comfort mode. That's where I like it. Now, fuel consumption is claimed at 6.8 litres per 100 Ks. You're going to see closer to sort of 8.5 litres per 100 Ks. If you pop it into eco mode and drive a bit mindfully, you could probably get it under 8, but you're going to have to be really working for it, which I don't think you want to be doing that when you're in such a luxury cruiser. So, scrap that idea. I want to keep telling you stuff. I've got a truck behind me that's making a noise. I hope you can't hear it, but I can. It's driving me mad. It's like, anyways, there is something just to be aware, especially if you're the AMG line, but because of the wheels, etc. This is a very low car. So even if you've got a bit of a lip into your driveway, or if you go over a speed bump, you can bump the bottom. So just be aware of that. The suspension is also quite firm, although it's not too bad. I think if you're on good roads, you're fine. So Cape Townians, you're all right. Joburg, sorry for you. But you choose where you live. Ha! That was mean. Shoo! Now, Mercedes-Benz wants you to get your bum into a C-Class. And the best way to do that is, of course, by either contacting your nearest dealer or going to the Mercedes-Benz website, because you're going to want to check out what the latest pricing offers are on the C-Class. I think what we need to really consider is the fact that this isn't going to sell like Hilux numbers or Polo numbers, but that it still holds a very special place within the South African market. It's still a very recognizable car, and in fact, a recognizable model in anything. If you just mention a C-Class, everybody knows what that is. So it still has its place. I think that the C-Class is the best it's ever been. If only now we could afford one.